Before I get into all the WWE stuff, I wanted to talk about New Japan. I've not talked about New Japan on this podcast here in a while. Not because I don't care, not because I haven't wanted to keep up with it, but just with everything that's been going on. Personally, my mind was not on New Japan. My mind was barely on WWE. So, cut me some slack. I have not been paying close attention to everything else that's been going on. But they had 2 shows this past week. The Dontaku shows in Fukuoka, night 1, night 2. Night 2 was way more eventful than night 1. Although I was in the middle, before I had to stop and start recording here, I was in the middle of going back and watching the Kota Ibushi match from night 1. I'm not that deep into it yet, so it's been okay, but I haven't finished that yet. But I really wanted to make sure I at least saw the key stuff from night 2, which I did. And night 2 saw the return of Chris Jericho to New Japan. So I guess, fooled me. I feel like a moron. After that interview he did with Chris Van Vliet a few weeks ago, and he went out of his way to talk about, I have nothing scheduled with New Japan, and, it comes down to, I want to make sure I'm compensated fairly, and blah, 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 and here he is, back in New Japan. But that's Jericho. That's what Jericho, he'll lie through his teeth. He doesn't care. He will lie through his teeth, and you'll have fools like me who will buy into it, and then he just pops up again. And so he popped up again here on this show. He attacked Naito, who was the last person that he had an issue with. If you remember, after he lost to Kenny Omega, it was at the very next show, I believe the very next day, that he attacked Tetsuya Naito. And we thought, well, this is clearly going to build to a Jericho-Naito match. Could they make time for it? Jericho was going to be going back on tour, and they just never did it, and they sort of got away from it. So he has dragged Naito back into things. Naito had just led Los Ingobernables de Japón to victory in a 10-man tag on night 2. He was the last guy out there. He was, slapping fans with hands, walking down the aisle on his way to the back, when all of a sudden he was attacked by a fan in a mask who, once this fan dragged him into the ring, he took the mask off to reveal himself as Jericho. Jericho had a bitch of a time getting that mask off. That thing was on tight. It took him like 15 seconds to get that thing off. But he grabbed the ring bell. He busted open Naito. We don't see blood very often in New Japan. Naito did a hell of a blade job here. He's bleeding all over the place. Jericho beat up a bunch of young lions and put his hands on the referees. He picked up a guardrail and he threw it. Jericho looked kind of weird. He almost looked like his eyebrows were shaved off. I don't know if he was wearing makeup or what it was. He looked very weird. Maybe that mask really was on too tight. It sort of squeezed his face and made him look different. I don't know. But Jericho is back, and he is going to be, most likely, I guess, wrestling Naito on that big Dominion show that New Japan is doing. I believe June 9th is the date in Osaka.